Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Welcome to today's Friday Reflections on this Friday, the 17th of September 2021. I hope you're all well wherever you are tuning into this from, and looking forward to today's final session on the life and teachings of Shaykh Muhammad Shah Bahauddin Naqshband. Of course, the great Shaykh that the Naqshbandi tariqah is named after, which is one of the largest tariqahs in the world. And to continue this, I'll be reading from this beautiful book, the Naqshbandi Sufi Way, the history and guidebook of the saints of the Golden Chain, by Mawlana Shaykh Hisham Kabbani. And we will continue where we left off last time. Page 181. His miracles and generosity. Shah Naqshband's state is beyond description, and the extent of his knowledge cannot be described. One of the greatest miracles was his very existence. He often hid his actions in order not to display miraculous power. Many of his miracles, however, were recorded. Shah Naqshband, may God bless his soul, said, "One day I went out with Muhammad Zahid to the desert. He was a truthful disciple, and we had a pickaxe with which we were digging. As we were working with the pick, we were discussing such deep states of knowledge that we threw aside the pick and entered deeper into spiritual knowledge. We were going deeper and deeper until the conversation led us to the nature of worship. He asked me, 'O my Shaykh, to what limit does worship reach?' I said, 'Worship reaches such perfection that the worshipper can say to someone, die, and that person will die.' Without thinking, I pointed at Muhammad Zahid. Immediately, he fell down dead. He was in the state of death. From sunrise until the midday, it was very hot. I was very anxious because his body was deteriorating from the excessive heat. I pulled him under the shade of a tree, and I sat there contemplating the matter. As I was contemplating, an inspiration came to my heart from the divine presence, telling me to say to him, 'O Muhammad, be alive.' I said it to him 3 times. In response, his soul slowly began to enter his body, and life slowly began to return to him. He gradually returned to his original state. I went to my Shaykh and told him what had happened. He said, 'O my son, God gave you a secret that he has given to no one else.'" Subhanallah. Remarkable. Sheikh Al-Din Al-Atta said, "One time, the king of Transoxiana, Sultan Abdullah Ghazgan, came to Bukhara. He decided to go hunting around Bukhara, and many people accompanied him. Shah Bahauddin Naqshband was in a nearby village. When the people went out hunting, Shah Naqshband went to the top of the hill and sat there. While sitting there, it came to his heart that God gave such honor to saints. Because of that honor, all kings of this world should bow to them. That thought had not yet passed from his heart before a horseman with a crown on his head, like a king, came into his presence and dismounted from his horse. With great humility, he greeted Shah Naqshband and stood in his presence in the most polite manner. He bowed to the Shaykh, but the Shaykh did not look at him. He kept him standing 1 hour. Finally, Shah Naqshband looked up and said, "What are you doing here?" He said, "I am the king, Sultan Ghazgan. I was out hunting, and I smelled a very beautiful smell. I followed it here, and I found you sitting in the midst of a powerful light." His very thought, all kings of this world should bow to the saints, had instantly become reality. That is how God honors the thoughts of his saints. One of his followers who was serving him in the city of Merv reported, "One day I wished to see my family in Bukhara, having received the news from my brother Shamsuddin had died. News that my brother Shamsuddin had died. I needed to take permission from my Shaykh to go. I spoke with Amir Hussain, the Prince of Herat, to ask permission on my behalf from Shah Naqshband. On their way back from the Friday congregational prayer, Amir Hussain told him about the death of my brother and that I wanted permission to go to his family. He said, no, it is impossible. How can you say he is dead when I can see him alive? More than that, I can even smell his smell. I am going to bring him here now." He had hardly finished these words before my brother appeared. He approached the Shaykh, kissed his hand, and greeted Amir Hussain. I hugged my brother, and there was great happiness among us. Shaykh Alauddin Atta said, Shaykh Shah Naqshband was once sitting in a large association in Bukhara, speaking about the unveiling of the state of vision. He said, my best friend, Mullah Arif, who lives in Khwarazm, 400 miles from Bukhara, has left Khwarazm for the government building, and he reached the station of the horse carriages. When he reached that station, he stayed there for a moment, and now he was going back to his house in Khwarazm. He is not going on to Sareh. This is how a saint can see in his station of gnosis. Everyone was surprised at this story, but we all knew that he was a great saint. So we recorded the time and the day. One day, Mullah Arif came from Khwarazm to Bukhara, and we told him about that incident. He was very surprised, and he said, in truth, that is exactly what happened. I mean, subhanAllah, some people, they doubt these things because they say, how can such men, they're just men, have such knowledge? Because these are things which only Allah knows. Of course, today, you can have a drone hovering over a place, and that drone can see what's going on there and broadcast the pictures back. So why do we doubt that those people who are truly close to Allah, I'm not talking about many people, but those people who are truly close to Allah, who Allah loves, why do we doubt that Allah can give them vision, give them sight of things which other people cannot see? If we can do that today with satellites and drones through technology, Allah is even more capable of doing that than any technology. And Allah can beam into their heads, minds, into the hearts of anyone Allah chooses, and put pictures in their heads or in their hearts that they can see it as if they are there. Of course, if you've never experienced anything like that, you will doubt it. But even if you doubt it, you should realize that logically, why isn't that possible? And if you can't disprove something, you shouldn't completely condemn it and say it doesn't happen, even if you question it. And it's one thing to question things, and quite another to say it absolutely doesn't happen when in truth, you have no knowledge of that. Some scholars from Bukhara traveled to Iraq with some followers of Shah Naqshband, and they reached the city of Simnan. They heard that there was a blessed man named Sayyid Mahmud, who was a disciple of the Shaykh. They went to visit his house and asked him, how did you become connected with the Shaykh? He said, one night I saw the Prophet ﷺ in a dream, sitting in a very nice place, and beside him sat a man of majestic appearance. I said to the Prophet ﷺ, with complete respect and humbleness, O Messenger of God, I was not honored to be your companion in this lifetime. In your lifetime, what can I do in my lifetime that will approximate that honor? He told me, O my son, if you want to be honored by being our friend and to sit with us and be blessed, you have to follow my son, Shah Bahauddin Naqshband. I then asked, who is Shah Bahauddin Naqshband? He said to me, do you see that person sitting next to me? This is the one. Keep company with him. I had never seen him before. When I awoke, I wrote his name and his description in a book that I have in my library. Much time passed after that dream, until one day, when I was standing in a shop, I saw a man with a luminous and majestic appearance come into the shop and sit on a chair. When I saw him, I remembered the dream and what had happened in it. Immediately, I asked him if he would honor me by coming to my house and staying with me. He accepted and began to walk in front of me while I followed. I was shy to walk in front of him, even to lead the way to my house. He did not look at me once, but took the path directly to my house. I was about to say, this is my house, when he said, this is your house. He walked inside and went straight to my special room. He said, this is your room. He went into the closet and he took one book from among hundreds of books. He gave me the book and asked me, what did you write in this book? What I had written was what I had seen in the dream. Immediately, a state of unconsciousness overtook me, and I fainted from the light that poured into my heart. When I awoke, I asked him if he would accept me. He was Shah Bahauddin Naqshband. SubhanAllah. I mean, there's too many of these things recorded about Shah Bahauddin Naqshband and about the awliya Allah. There are people who will doubt these things, but if they didn't happen, why are they recorded so many times by so many independent people in so many different places? You know, there's such a thing that if there's too many coincidences, that it's no longer a coincidence. Sheikh Mohammed Zaid said, in the beginning of my traveling on the path, I was sitting beside him one day in the spring season. A craving for watermelon entered my heart. He looked at me and said, Mohammed Zaid, go to that river near us and bring us what you see, and we will eat it. Immediately, I went to the river. The water was very cold. I reached into it and found a watermelon under the water, very fresh, as if it had just been cut from the vine. I was very happy, and I took the watermelon and said, "Oh, my Shaykh, accept me." One of his followers reported the following about a visit to him. Before the visit, I visited Shaykh Shadi, one of the senior disciples, to advise me. He said to me, "Oh, my brother, when you go to visit the Shaykh, or when you are sitting in the presence of the Shaykh, be careful not to place your legs so that your feet face him." As soon as I left Gaziut on my way to Casa al-Arfan, I found a tree and lay down under it with my legs extended. Unfortunately, an animal came and bit me on the leg. Later, I fell back asleep in pain. As I was sleeping again, an animal bit me. Suddenly, I realized that I'd made a great mistake. I had extended my feet in the direction of the Shaykh. I immediately repented, and the animal stopped biting me. One time he was pushed to show miraculous power in order to defend one of his successors in Bukhara, Sheikh Mohammed Pasha. This occurred at the time when Sheikh Mohammed Shamsuddin al-Jazari came to Samarkand in the time of King Mirza Aleg Beg to determine the correctness of the chains of transmission in traditions of the Prophet ﷺ. Some of the jealous and corrupt scholars had complained that Sheikh Mohammed Pasha was giving narrations of traditions whose chains of transmission were not known. They told Shamsuddin, if you try to correct that problem, God will give you a great reward. Sheikh Mohammed Shamsuddin asked the Sultan to order Sheikh Mohammed Pasha to appear before him. The Shaykh al-Islam of Bukhara, Husamuddin al-Nahwi, was there, along with many scholars and imams from the area. Shah Naqshband came with Mohammed Pasha to the meeting. Sheikh Husamuddin asked Mohammed Pasha about a tradition. Mohammed Pasha narrated the tradition along with its chain of transmission. Sheikh Mohammed al-Jazari, Sheikh Mohammed al-Jazari said there is no error in the translation, in the tradition, but the chain is incorrect. Upon hearing this, the jealous scholars were happy. They asked Mohammed Pasha to give another chain for the tradition. He did. And it was again said that it was not correct. They asked for another chain, and he gave it, and still they found fault with it. Shah Naqshband interfered because he knew that whatever chain he gave, they would say it was incorrect. He inspired Mohammed Pasha to direct a question to Sheikh Husamuddin and say to him, you are the Shaykh of Islam and the Mufti. From what you have learned of external knowledge and the divine law and the knowledge of the traditions, what do you say about such and such a narrator? Sheikh Husamuddin said, we accept that person and we base much of our knowledge of traditions on his narrations. We accept his books. His lineage is one that all scholars accept. There is no argument on that matter. Mohammed Pasha said, the book of that person that you are accepting is in your house, in your library, between such and such books. It contains 500 pages and its color is such and such. And the cover looks like such and such. And the tradition you rejected is narrated by that person on page such and such. Sheikh Husamuddin was confused. Doubt entered his heart because he did not remember seeing such a book in his library. Everyone was surprised that the Shaykh would know about the book while the owner did not know about it. There was no alternative except to send someone to check. The tradition was found exactly as Mohammed Pasha mentioned. When the king heard about this story, the scholars who brought the charges were humiliated, and Shah Naqshband and Mohammed Pasha were honored. SubhanAllah, how would they know about a tradition written in a book? And bearing in mind, in those days, books were not printed like this book. They were actually written by hand. So maybe that book, might even have only been one copy, or maybe there was only a handful of copies of that book. And, these were not widely available, and there was no internet. You couldn't Google or search it like you can now. So how would the Shaykh know that within that book, on a certain particular page, there was a tradition, and be able to narrate that tradition when the person who actually owned the book was not even aware of it? And that is miraculous knowledge. There's no getting away from that. That is remarkable, truly remarkable. His state upon leaving this world. Sheikh Ali Damam, one of the servants of the Sheikh, said, "The Sheikh ordered me to dig his grave. When I finished it, it came into my heart, who is going to be his successor?" He raised his head from the pillow and said to me, "O my son, do not forget what I said to you when we were on our way in the Hijaz, to the Hijaz. Whoever wants to follow me must follow Sheikh Mohammed Parsa and Sheikh Alauddin Atta." In his last days, he stayed in his room. People made pilgrimage to see him, and he gave them advice. When he entered his final illness, he locked himself up in his room. Wave after wave of his followers began to visit him, and he gave to each of them the advice they needed. At one point, he ordered them to read Surah Yasin, chapter 36 of the Quran. Then, when they had finished the surah, he raised his hands to God. He then raised his right finger to say the testimony bearing witness to the one God and the messenger of Muhammad, the messengership of Muhammad. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadur Rasulullah. As soon as he had finished reciting the Shahada, his soul returned to Allah. He died on a Monday night, the 3rd of Rabi al-Awwal, 791 AH, or 1388 CE. He was buried in his garden as he requested. The succeeding kings of Bukhara took care of his school and mosque, expanded them, and increased their religious endowments. Abdul Wahab Ash-Sharani, the spiritual pole of his time, said, when the Shaykh was buried in his grave, a window to paradise was opened for him, making his grave a paradise from heaven. Two beautiful spiritual beings entered his presence and greeted him and says to him, from the time that God created us until now, we have waited for this moment to serve you. He said to these two spiritual beings, I do not look to anything other than him. I do not need you, but I need my Lord. Shah Naqshband left behind many successors, the most honorable among whom were Sheikh Mohammed ibn Mohammed Alauddin al-Khwarizmi. Excuse me, sorry. Sheikh Mohammed ibn Mohammed Alauddin al-Khwarizmi, al-Bukhari al-Atta, and Sheikh Mohammed ibn Mahmud al-Hafizi, known as Mohammed Pasha, the author of Risala Qudsiyya. It is to the first that Shah Naqshband passed the secret of the golden chain. And there we conclude the final part of the life and teachings of Shah Mohammed Bahauddin Shah Naqshband, the great Shaykh after which the Naqshbandi Tariqah is named. Someone who has had profound influence on the history and development of Tariqah, and influence that goes even beyond the Naqshbandi Tariqah. If you're interested in reading the book is the Naqshbandi Sufi Way, History and Guidebook of the Saints of the Golden Chain. There is also another book which contains much similar information to this, but it's a later edition called Classical Islam and the Guidebook to the Saints of the Naqshbandi Order, which is still widely available. This particular book is more of a collector's item and is out of print, but the same text about the different awliya Allah of the Naqshbandi Tariqah is found within that later edition of the book by Sheikh Mohammed Hisham Kabbani. I do highly recommend reading about the lives of the awliya Allah. It gives us a perspective and an understanding of who these people are, because a lot of people, certainly within the Muslim world, a lot of people will visit the graves of the saints and make dua for them, but a lot of Muslims don't really know who they were, how they lived their lives, what kind of people they were. And reading about them, it gives us that understanding, or it gives us a window into that understanding, which helps us to understand who these people were. And that also helps us to be able to identify their successors in the world today, who we should be taking inspiration from, because these are people who have a direct connection to the Prophet Muhammad and through the Prophet Muhammad to the divine presence, and also are tuned into the times in which we live. So the advice and wisdom that they give is relevant for our times, and it's not something which is just recycled from, ancient times, and therefore it doesn't really fit with the modern world and the difficulties and challenges which we face now. A true wali would be able to give advice that makes sense, advice that helps people, and it's not, something that's going to make their lives even more difficult and troublesome. If you're in the UK, may Allah grant you a very good evening, and wherever you are in the world, I wish you assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, and have a good weekend. Look forward to your joining me next week for weekly sohbet and dhikr, and also for our Friday reflections on the Friday, when we will discuss another interesting topic. I wish you all the very best. And of course, if you are finding these videos helpful and useful, please don't forget to subscribe to my Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube channels, so that you can be kept up to date with the latest videos, and also my website at paulsarmstrong.com. I wish you all the very, very best. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for joining me.